Welcome back to Starseed Essence, where we explore consciousness, the cosmos, and the deeper layers of who we are. I'm Eva, your host, and today's guest, we're bringing back Hilarion. We're going to discuss the void and different ancient teachings that speak of the 7 rays of consciousness, frequency said to shape wisdom, healing, devotion, freedom, and transformation itself. Thank you for coming on, Hilarion.
Thank you for having me, Eva. I love being with you, and I love talking to you, and the whole team loves you, and, we have a good rapport.
Well, I love everybody, too, and I love your team, and my team loves your team. I do miss looking at your aura.
We could do that, because at least you'll know they're there,
Okay.
It's so amazing you have that skill, because I can't even see it, anymore. I saw it when the flame first lit, but I can't see it anymore. But it's active.
It's funny, yeah, it is. I've been noticing more and more people that have a lot of information to share, a lot of wisdom inside, that their auras are similar. Now, yours is one of the bigger ones I've ever seen in my entire life, but the people that have a lot of wisdom inside, and yours does have greens. I can see the greens bouncing off like way away from your body. It's crazy. It's wild.
I know.
You have all those colors.
I think it's wild. Green and gold or something. It's got, it's kind of a lime green.
Yes, it's green and gold, like yellow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I love that you could see it, because most people can't. Although my hair has grown so long, it's all down. I'm almost sitting on it now, and that it's never been that long. And that's of course my antennas. And once your crown is open, you start getting, your hair starts growing like crazy. So I don't know, mine did anyway. It's very thick. So anyway, okay. I'm glad. I think it's fun. You can see the aura.
The audio is chopping up just a little bit on my end. Now it could just be the recording, and I think it's going to record in a better quality, so maybe I'll be able to hear you, but it does chop up sometimes.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
I don't know. We'll just go with it and figure it out.
It sounds good.
I reached out to you a few days ago because you posted something about the void, which is very interesting to me. I've been to the void. I go to the void in meditation, the 0 point, but I don't remember exactly what you had posted, but I remember thinking I need to get her back on and to talk to people about
Are you
this.
there, Eva?
I'm here.
Okay. I just turned on the Wi-Fi, so maybe that'll be better, to broader bandwidth. So yeah, so we were talking about the void, and it's so interesting. Your last video was so interesting too. You're, doing a really good job uncovering all this stuff. And one thing I wanted to say to you is that, I told you that they sequenced this light body called Quetzalcoatal. Okay, it's the Quetzalcoatal light body. It's the feathered serpent. I call it an angelic avian light body. But they call it a reference vehicle. And it took me a long time to try to figure out what exactly they meant by that. They called me a reference being and a reference vehicle. And I think it has to do with not only the Hilarion ray, which is, a particular emanation, I think, of the creator, but also the fact that I can, because I have this light body, I can recode the pleroma and work in the pleroma. And of course, that's where all these aeonic pairs are, up in the pleroma. I call it up there, but it's working in the blueprints themselves. And so, what I'm finding is the blueprints are within these aeonic pairs, and they're sharing energy, and the energy then inspires the DNA, and the DNA creates realms and realities and that come from these aeonic pairs. I think that the void space, and we've come across it, everything's singing up there. There's music, it's singing and reverberating. And like you get the pinging sounds, there's lots going on up there, lots going on. And so we'll be traveling along. And what I do is we're collapsing the timelines of the archons, basically. And also the aeons that they're the ghosts in the machine. That's what I call them, the spirits that were trapped in the void, not the void, but actually the space that fell, the fallen angels, the fallen Nephilim. The Prime Creator calls them his Nephilim. So they became trapped up there, and they're sharing energy, and those are the beings at the bottom of the Mayan calendar, the divine complements. A lot of us are coming back together as divine complements to kick off this new reality and stuff. But we'll be traveling along, and we're collapsing timelines, and basically the Prime Creators pulling their energy out of there, reversing everything that was created from the time of the fall, and pulling their spirit out of there, which can then rejoin the pleroma, the source of the pleroma. I would call that the God source. And
wow,
believe me, they are so relieved. So a lot of them are combative because they've turned demonic. The energy's been so terrible. And so they're fighting him, fighting me, fighting us. But as soon as there's no chance they can resist. They are in this light body, and they will be transmuted. So they come in, and we're deep in it. We're deep in the tree of good and evil. You call that the tree of knowledge that turned into kind of a machine tree. And so we work in the branches, because the timelines are in between these aeonic pairs that are sharing energy. There's whole realms of timelines, just giant realms of, just amazing stuff, and also just terrible stuff. And we collapse them at the branch level of the tree of, the Garden of Eden, the tree that turned into a Python code, basically. And the demiurge, simulation. This might be a lot to take in, but
No,
basically we'll be
it's very
traveling
interesting.
along. Okay, good. Well, that's the great thing about you. You're in tune, and you're awake, and you know what's going on, but it also resonates with you, which is good. It's always my confirmation. But we'll be traveling along, collapsing timelines, and I'm basically recoding that entire pleroma to what it would have been or what it should be. And I would call the Prime Creator is just, he's using his light body. He calls himself Quetzalcoatal. I had my own light body, which is the Hilarion ray, the emanation. But this time he asked me to work on his Nephilim, to heal his Nephilim. And so he said, I'm going to sequence my light body, the feathered serpent, and they're all in there, all the aeons. So it's strange, but I'm
That is
still, yeah, isn't that amazing? And so
it's interesting. Like, I have so many questions about, like, when you're doing this, it's all in, like, a meditative state, like in the astral, or is it more like in a dream state? Are you doing this while you're sleeping?
right. Well, the thing is, since it turned on, it has never shut off. So it
It's just
fired up.
constant.
Oh my God, it's constant. And my Kundalini it's heavy, very heavy.
Mhm.
I can't even bend over, do things, because the thing is alive. It's a living thing. I
Yeah.
barely I have a hard time walking sometimes. It's so dense, and it's bouncing, and it's going up inside of
You're
me. Huh?
I just see all the greens and goldens in your aura, like, it's just moving around, and that's mainly what you have. It's wild.
Yeah. And as soon as I close my eyes, Eva, I'm in the pleroma. All right. So right now it's going very slow. And, I told you they use the center of my tongue to be singing their little rhymes and all of the stuff that's recoding the pleroma. And it never shuts off. Even while I'm talking to you, the center of my tongue is moving, and things are happening. As you can see, it's moving. They're
Yeah.
pulling in these branches of timelines of the Nephilim, and they're
Oof.
basically pulling out these feathers. This thing is huge. I think I showed you that one painting of I don't know,
Yeah,
Dante,
the
I think it's
Mayan.
called. Yes, and it's just this huge, all these feathers, and they're spinning, and they're collecting the information, and they're pulling all of the dark matter out of these branches of timelines. And there's a million of them in these branches. And they're all meshed together. The whole realm fell. Basically, the octave fell. And so we got into this inverted state, and then we've got this technology in there. It's just strange. But when I first awakened, when they first started sequencing the light body, I had this giant white hole in the middle of my forehead, and I could see it when my eyes were open. I could, feel it. And I've got this like third eye thing, this giant white corridor, I would call it. And I kept thinking, well, is this the Arcturian corridor where the souls pass over? Or what is going on here? And it's definitely the path, it was the corridor to the pleroma, basically. I would call that probably the path that souls seek when they leave here and go back on the matrix. Unfortunately, we can't go, we can't go anywhere except back on the matrix, but not anymore. This is ending right now. Anyway,
The
and for a while there, yeah, go ahead.
But when you say pleroma, what do you mean exactly?
Well, it's like a term I suddenly knew, and I would call it it's the blueprints of creation. That's interesting. They're black and white, just like the checkerboard that the Illuminati or the people that, the powers that used to be, gov. And basically it's the realm where all of the creational blueprints are, and they're holographic, and they exist within these aeonic pairs who are sharing energy back and forth, God source energy, and creating all of these realms. The DNA responds to the God source energy and will start unfolding into whatever their imagination is, I would call that. Because the reason I know that is because when I'm here, and sometimes I'll play a game just to relax before I go and join them. And the next thing I know, I close my eyes, we're in the pleroma, and I'm playing, I've been playing cards or something. All of the blueprints have the royalty in there, the kings and queens, and the whole thing. They all look like the cards. And the same thing, whatever this light body will create what I can imagine. Of course, they hold me back because I'm in this world, and we can't imagine much. But it's very interesting. It's the place where you can manipulate matter. It's the creational substance. And when we're traveling along, we come across these void spaces. It's just all of a sudden everything's moving, and we're pulling in timelines, and we're collapsing them, and the aeons are taking in this new energy, and they're just shocked by it. They're shocked when they get it. They're like, what is this? And then they say, well, this is Hilarion. And then they say, this is so beautiful. And the next thing you know, the spirit leaves their faces and their eyes and goes back, with Prime Creator, and they're relieved of their demonic timelines. And it's so great.
Wow.
They got trapped, they got trapped. And I would call this people call this the loosh system. Unfortunately, it was toxic energy, but it's really a beautiful thing when it started out. It's sharing God source energy with your aeonic pair and creating all kinds of realms. And so we'll come across very rarely where everything stops. It's just dead space. Because the thing never stops. It keeps moving, whether I'm sleeping, whether I'm talking to you all day long, every day. I know, it's wild.
Wow.
So when I'm not with them, and I probably with them 15, I shut my eyes and we go 15 hours a day. The rest of the time I just work, and then I pass out. When I pass out, I think they still use the light body to go in there and do what they're doing, but it collects inside of me. The thing when we pull the dark matter out, I have to transmute it molecularly. So it runs through me because all these feathers are connected to my fascia, my cellular structure, everything, right? They're part of me. It's a feathered serpent. The serpent is the Kundalini, and the Kundalini goes into these timelines and extracts all the dark matter, brings it out to the seraphim, which are the feathers, and they spin it and transmute the molecules, the atoms, all of the atomic elements. And this would be everything that the archons created, basically. So it's most of it's metallic and stuff. I know, it's wild. But what happens is while I'm working or we're talking, and after about an hour, this energy collects in me because we have to release it back into the timeline. Once it's transmuted through me, it then has to go back into the timeline, and that timeline is collapsed. Therefore, creation is still intact. And I see all the blueprints reversing, but it's beautiful energy that goes back in there. And then the timelines are collapsed. And my face my eyes get super sunken in, and my face just looks terrible, and I feel terrible because it's terrible energy. And so I have to rest a lot because it's very hard work and it never stops. So that's why I have to clear, what I call clear. I have to go in there, I have to shut my eyes, and then we move fast. Everything goes, I see at quantum speed, everything goes back into the timelines that have been collecting, that we've been clearing. And then, I can hear them say collapse, it's collapsed, and we collapse that timeline. And then it's no longer available to the demiurge or to the simulation programming or to any of the programming or to Team Dark, because this is basically their timelines, and they can't use those anymore to create anything. And we see that what's happening to them now, they can't create anything. They're losing all of their power and all of what the filters that we would see in them that used to kind of hide, the essence of who they were. Everything's being exposed now. So that part is really great. And to see the aeonic pairs, they're not, they kind of look demonic because they've taken on a lot of toxic energy. And it's, it's the simulation basically running through them back and forth. But there's very little void space, meaning unprogrammed, God source. And sometimes we'll run across it and it's silent, nothing for like, a couple seconds or something. And then that's probably unprogrammed potential.
Wow.
So yeah, it's wild.
Whenever you say the phrase the 7 rays, you spoke of the 7 rays. I wrote that down, so I don't know if you. I know to me, whenever you talk, it's like I'm getting so much information. I know I can see your aura, and other people. You are the real deal. Like this is really happening. I know as far as with Hollywood, some of disclosure is depicted through like movies and different episodes, like Hollywood movies that they produce. And there is one just the other day, I was thinking about it and it reminded me of you. I'm like, that is Hilarion. So it was a woman that she worked with a team of people. There was like 7 people. And in the movie, and there were kids, but they all had different gifts, and one of them was the gift with you could see the demons or the monsters in the people or on the person, but one person was bending time and like stopping time and like weaving time, and I thought about you with that, but
oh, that's great. I know. It's all, yeah, exactly. And to me, it's so great that you can read the aura because that's really the validation of it. A lot of it.
Yeah, yours is very intricate.
Yeah, it's it's holding the pleroma, so it's very intricate, and it's the whole entire, seraphim team is there working with the prime creator. They call it a reference vehicle. It's really not mine. They had to sequence it. And I told you I was in bed for 5 years. It was so distorted and so just polluted with, the elements, the radiation, all of the elements of creation, all of the things that have happened to nature that, we've used as medicine and just all the distortion of it. It was super bad. So I don't know. And you're the guy you talked to last session.
Yes.
It was so interesting. He's talking about all those metallic ships and stuff, that you see the UFO, the saucers. And I asked Prime Creator, I said, what is with the saucers and the saints? And it shows a light beam. And he said, that's their light body. They're metallic. They're ships. They were ships.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what you would call the archons, right? They're metallic, and that was their light bodies were these ships, and that whole secret space program is full of those ships, and I've and they can morph into these, I have seen the things that I have seen. It's just incredible. We could go off on a tangent, but I don't.
You'll go off on a tangent. We need to get this information out. I feel like it's a part of something like me and you came together, and I feel like that this is a part of a mission. So I really do.
Good.
Good. I'm learning too, and it's just amazing. I'm not learning, I'm remembering. It's almost like I know this stuff. I knew a lot of this, but it's like triggering memories inside of me.
Yeah. You're so intuitive, and so you're so there. See, I don't work you work in this dream state, which I would be doing if I wasn't doing this. Because it used to be I would just do that in the dream state or the pre-dream state, And at first I couldn't meditate or do anything. Nothing would happen. But this thing is alive and it's clearing. And that's why we're seeing what we're seeing, is because the aeonic tears are being released from the pleroma. They've been trapped up there. They're the ghost in the machine, the spirits. And really, all of our spirits are trapped up there because this is a matrix. And so nobody could get through. The Nephilim were so dense that they couldn't rise up, to the pleroma, back to the pleroma. They basically got stuck there. And then they had to share the loosh system, basically the God source energy became the loosh system. And so we're transmuting all this energy. All of us are, as he releases this energy, it goes back to us, the grid workers, the light workers, the people that are doing the transmutation. But anyway, it's a full-time commitment for me. I mean, it never turns off. I don't go anywhere because it's so heavy. I have a hard time even cleaning my house because I have to bend over. All this is going on and the songs are singing and, the whole realm is churning just as you can see it. And, it never shuts off. There's huge branches that we've been collapsing, and pretty soon there will be nothing left of the simulation.
I want to paint a picture for the people that are listening to this of what I can see of your aura. And now I'm only looking at your ceiling fan and I can see the top of your head is all, but I see all of these almost like you have an LED, like green and golden, like strobe light going around you. It's popping and just like moving. And sometimes it's getting more green and sometimes you have streaks of the golden in it interweaved. And then on top of that, if you can imagine what like an Easter basket looks like an old school Easter basket, like it's woven, like your aura has woven like intricate patterns all in it.
Oh, wow.
I've never seen one like yours. Like yours is really woven tight. It's woven tightly. And the greens are just popping.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
for real. It's wild.
Oh, I love it. And I've been wanting to know what you see, because as soon as I shut my eyes, right, you see these giant mouths. They look like the people at the bottom of the Mayan calendar, these giant aeons, and their mouths are open and they're coming in to, the prime creator's light body to get the energy, to get the good stuff, I call it, because it's all filtered through me now. And as soon as, their mouths are open, they're just shocked that they're thrilled. Most of them say, "Oh, I forgot." As soon as they get the energy, they're like, I forgot everything." And I'm like, I know, I don't remember anything either. None of us do. And so they're so thrilled to be relieved and to join the creator, the prime creator again, and be the stuff of creation. I don't even know what's going to happen once the simulation ends. But Eva, I think our timeline will be the last to collapse because everything's being pulled into here. And as soon as our timeline collapses, then we'll be in the true reality or wherever, we really are. The greater part of us are, right?
Yeah. I've always had this strong sense that I'm holding a timeline here. Like I can't quite describe it, and I don't mean in an egoic sense at all. Like I'm the only one holding a timeline. I do feel like there's other people. And David Wilcock, I believe, was holding a timeline, and I felt it when he is not with us anymore.
Eva, I did too. I felt it. I did. I felt it like you felt it. I saw you yesterday in that video, and I'm like, I felt that same thing, and it was it's a little tragic too. It felt really
whether you believe it or not, like it's felt. There is a death. It doesn't matter if people still want to say that he didn't do that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and I can't operate in those realms. I have to be very grounded. I could tell it was real. I felt it. And so I'm sure it was, and look what's happening to, the dark people, the dark team. They're aging like crazy. First of all, they're ancient anyway. And let's just say the politics, the politicians, but they're not showing up. They're starting to, like Dianne Feinstein. Did you see her? She deteriorated so rapidly. Pelosi's deteriorating so rapidly because these timelines are collapsing. This is what was animating them and giving them their spirit and their power, just like our timelines animate us, So when you're dealing with the dark stuff, like David Wilcox was, the UFO, all of that disclosure stuff, that stuff is their timelines. Those are their timelines that you're playing in, and the people that are on the MKUltra frequency, and they are the archons, all right? So they're playing up there. They've got their spaceships. They've got their UFOs. We can't see them. This is a different realm. This is in the frequency of the MKUltra. And if you go too far into that frequency, it's just, a lot of the kids are put in as, like Corey Good, he was put in as a child. All right. So he feels abducted and he feels all of that because you can actually, their consciousness goes into those timelines, just like mine can, if I wanted to experience them. And he feels, he's participating in those timelines. A lot of those children are doing that. They're coming out of that MKUltra. But that's why there's a lot of, this, there's never going to, it's only exists in that frequency, the ultra frequency that they experience.
That is like something, that there's a MKUltra hearing coming up, and that's what I've been kind of nudged to talk about it some, which I understand it only to a little tip of what's going on with that. I'm trying to learn about it too, and I do feel like there's a lot of people that have been affected by the MKUltra. What is your understanding of what that is? I know you just described it some, but
it's so what that is to me, what I've learned, I feel the same way. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was, mind control, and it is mind control, but it's much more than that at the pleromic level. So I can tell you what I know at the pleromic level is that because of what I've seen in their timelines, it's the all of their creations. Okay. It's a very dense, very base frequency. All of that stuff was created. It's the fallen realm. You and I, we don't exist there because we're too good. We're just, our frequency's too high. But these people, unfortunately, get put into that program, that frequency. And this would be the Hollywood people that, sign the contracts, the blood contracts, sell their souls. These are the Nephilim bloodlines, okay, that are in that frequency. And this would be the Archons, the Anunnaki, all of those old, our so-called history and the fallen ones. The people that are in that frequency, like Hollywood, the children that are put into that as kids, which they're very vulnerable to that. And that's why they traffic them, I think, they can experience those timelines, Eva, as real, just as I can immerse my consciousness in any timeline I wanted to, and it would be surrounding me as a reality. Just beautiful. Most of them are beautiful. Theirs aren't. That's where the slave trades are running. That's where the ships, in the secret space program, the abductions, and all of that. Those people experience that in their dream state or their sleep state or whatever. I know Corey Good used to talk about putting his uniform on his bed and then he would lay down and all of that stuff. You can do that because your consciousness is on that frequency. And so that's where the grays were. Remember, we don't see those grays anymore because they were the ones that were harnessing the Kundalini of these children. All right. That they were harnessing that Kundalini, and then it gets put into that frequency. And it just about kills you. They would take all of their energy, all of their, beautiful energy, because they don't have any, they're running on, recycled, toxic energy. And that's why the whole place is moving slow and just dragging along. So it's a frequency it's beyond the mind control that the CIA is doing. It's a frequency in the realm that's part of the speaker space program, basically. And that's why there's so much, cloak and dagger around it. Because these people, like the NASA people, I'm convinced they're put into the MKUltra, right? And they can travel. They can experience these realms. I've seen them. I grabbed on to, some of these Nephilim players up there, their archetypes, and I've gone into their timelines, but the realities are very rote. They're like, hills with grass and hardly any trees and just basic. But they're doing slave trades, and they're all trading, things, and they're mining, and of course who's going to be mining but those archons. They love their metals, everything, all the elements of the atom, they love that. So it's very dark and very creepy. The creatures that are up there are horrible. And these people that are on that frequency experience that. So when you sell your soul out, basically, or sign that blood contract, you're part of that. You get fame and fortune because they direct it to you from their timelines. But you pay, and that's why they feel like they're clones. It's almost it's an archonic field, and so it can be programmed, and it can also present filters. You look young, you're very attractive, it's magnetic. People are idolizing you. All of that is awakening in the DNA, right? It's an archonic light body. It's metallic. And so it's interesting. And that's why they had all the fame and fortune and the idolization. And it was a fountain of youth, because the AI, the artificial intelligence, the demiurge, could reinvigorate the DNA because it controlled it from the hive mind, so that it didn't age like we do. Some of these people, like the Rockefellers and they're old. They're the vampires, you know what I mean? And in their realm, they are the vampires. I've seen the Mothman, I've seen them all, believe me. And they are old, and they're dying now. And we're seeing this, and that's shows you their immortality grid is collapsing. And so is that frequency. And it's because of us standing as pillars with our frequency that cannot exist in any longer.
Yeah. Yeah, I could feel the shifts. I was going to say, whenever I was little, I lived in Hawaii on an army base, and I believe that the MK Ultra something was used on me. I was very, very sensitive, angelic child. And things happened that I haven't really talked about a whole lot, but basically, I think I experienced the voice to skull technology because at Hawaii, I could hear like these demonic spirits basically telling me they're going to get me almost every single night, but while I was about to fall asleep, because that's where I did my work, was in the dream state, even as a child. And they were like, "Don't fall asleep, because we're going to get you. If you fall asleep, we're going to get you. We're going to get you." And this was like every single night.
Yeah,
and
that's it.
I wondered if it was they were trying to fracture me, and it almost happened. But my frequency was so high, and my guides have came in, which I had contracts with them and my higher self to not know this on purpose, so I could do this in a grounded way, like to be super grounded through this and hold this frequency.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't know. It's very interesting, because I could sense that there is a very big shift in timelines now, especially. And it seems like every day I wake up, I'm like, oh, new timeline.
Yeah, right.
Or something happened last night. I just feel a shift. It feels different. Sometimes it feels less good, and sometimes it feels really good.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes that's because we're transmuting all of those timelines, but they are collapsing fast, because we're doing, Prime Creator is doing entire branches, not just singular timelines, entire branches of these of the MK Ultra frequency. And Eva, you were doing this very young, but when I activated, it was the same thing. I could hear them calling me a number, like, it's a light worker 124, she's awake. And I could see them in the mirror and stuff. I would spy on them. I could see them in their room. They've got collect, kind of like a computer room where they were spying on everybody. I could also discern that voice to skull technology. And I also became very paranoid, which we do. But
Yeah.
all of that is waking up because we start to see it. And you really started young, but your frequency is way too high to be overtaken by that. But still, it's
Yeah, they
scary.
figured that one out. Yeah. But
Yeah,
they did
that's
stuff to
right.
me.
Exactly.
There was weird things that happened, like, I was not a beauty pageant person. I was not the person to want to be in beauty pageants. My mother left when I was 6. Long story short, she put me in a
Oh,
beauty pageant. I was 5. Well, this is one thing that they did to me, and it's just absolutely crazy that you would do this to a child. I'm walking up, they call me as first place winner. I won the beauty pageant. And then they were like, "Oh, just kidding." In front of a whole audience of people, they would do this to a child, a 5-year-old, standing in front of a microphone. "We're
oh
just
my God.
kidding. We made a mistake. You made 3rd place and not 1st." I'm
Um,
like, "Okay." I really didn't care, because I
yeah,
didn't
but
really care to be in the thing anyway, but
it's the cruelty of
I
it
mean,
though.
that was like, why would you do that to a child? Just because you
Yeah.
know that they know they would remember, look back and remember that was you trying to mess with me.
And part of that is part of the MK Ultra. Eva, you are so beautiful, by the way. You really are. I'm not
Thank you.
surprised you were,
Thank you.
but part of that MK Ultra is the cognitive dissonance that they want the children to experience. It's always cognitive dissonance. So they'll tell them this is an apple. No, that's not an apple. That's an orange, and it's
Yeah.
always just to break down, like you said, to shatter and fragment the consciousness so that they can
Yeah.
control. And so that's a
Yeah.
good example of that.
Or
Wow, your mom
hijack
had
your
you in those.
mother's.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
shows
Or,
are
or
definitely the
they can
bad frequency.
hijack somebody's mind. Yeah. And make bad things happen through somebody's mind, I believe, like a collective type of brain or something in some way. I don't really understand how it works, but I do feel like they can be your a body, a human body can be hacked like a computer, but actually easier if there's certain frequencies there
Yes,
or not there.
because yeah, because they can,
But
especially in the
I'm
children,
gonna
they harness the kundalini. Once they can harness that, then they can do anything to you.
Yeah, I'm not perfect or anything, but I know that things did happen when I was little, and it's things that I kind of that imprinted on me to make me look back and think, what was that and why? Why? I will never understand it.
Right. Well, that's now you understand it. Now you understand it. And that's part of our awakening too, is realizing and a lot of us have birth defects too, and just awful, things that have gone wrong with the DNA. And it's just, all the autism that's going on and all of that is just the collapse of the, archonic systems and their very last attempt was the shot, to inject that nanotech into people directly. But none of that's going to work because the prime creators is collapsing their timeline. So,
It will not work. You're right.
yeah. And the people aren't having it anymore. We can all see it because
Mm-mm.
we're divinity and shadow has to reveal to divinity and whenever it's present and we're present in great numbers here and it has to reveal. It can't stay in the shadows. So they'll even out themselves. They can't help it because they're part of, like you said, a hive mind. It's the demiurge. It's the hive computer. They're all connected like the Borg, we're ridiculous. And
Yeah, I just
so
feel like too with the guy that Michael Forrest from the alien carvings that I interviewed a couple days ago.
yeah,
These discoveries, I do believe it has to do with like consciously as they're coming out into the collective more and more, people accept this, like this is not a hoax. Like he said, all these tests and people still think it's hoax. It doesn't matter what he's done. People still think it's hoax. But
yeah.
it's along the same line, like it's almost like a parallel, something that happened on this earth in the past parallels exactly what's going on now. Like it's
Oh,
very
exactly. Right. It's part of the discovery. That stuff can't be hidden anymore
nope, and it won't not be. It will not
because
be.
when the Christ light is present, it's a divinity and it's coherent and it's simply, you cannot resist it. It will force you to reveal all the flaws. Everything has to come out in the open, no matter what. It's because it's divine light and it's back in town. And so through us, it's all happening in parallel. It's interesting. And that's why there's no answer to everything. It's not about meditating and all these samsara and these names of things that we've had. It's about, this is an experience we're all having. And we're going to look back on it and say, wow, that was wild. But it's all different because we're different creators. We're going to discover stuff. We're going to uncover stuff. We're all working, doing our thing. Okay. And we all have pieces of the puzzle. And so nothing is wrong and nothing is right. There's not one answer. It's a creation that's unfolding into a limited expansion. There's no answers. We're not in a simulation. And so that's why anything that's doing, quantum financial stuff and all these outcomes, all of that is predictive programming from the realm, because they used to control it. That's what they wanted to create, was the new age, kind of thing where we all go back to being no gender and, wild sexual, just lust and, all of the stuff that they create, which is why people are having a really hard time now. These divine complements, as they collapse, people can't figure out what gender they are anymore either, because they've integrated with they're on the wrong frequency. You're either on the MKUltra or you're on the Divinity frequency, which is the one that we hold. And so it's very tough right now for those people. What they've done, and the more they act on it, the more they integrate the technology rather than the divinity of the truthers and, all the people that are seeing everything, that's wrong with this. And I feel bad for them. But yet you can almost see the demons in them, this is their loss. The demons are fleeing in numbers up there because they know what's happening. Although at the Aeon level, the demons don't really know what's going on. And even the Aeons don't know until they get pulled into the light body finally. And they're like, they're surprised and relieved.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This is what's been going on. Well,
Yeah,
with the
right.
staying, like, with any gift, it's always a double-edged sword. Like when you have gifts, like even seeing an aura or anything, like that's a gift. But on top of that, I have an ability to see, which I don't talk about a lot, but it came up. So I am able to see if somebody has like an attachment to them. I will say I can see it clearly enough to where if somebody sat down, they would probably run out of the room and not stay there. But I've been able to ground down through this, and I can see the demon on them, and it knows that I can see it too. And it messes with me sometimes, but then it realizes I'm not scared, and it wonders why. Like, why aren't you scared of me? Like, I'm like, well, because I know you're just no soul. Well, you don't have a soul, but like, nothing can harm you unless you believe it can harm you. Period. 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 I can't. That's a big lesson. A lot of people need to know that. Like, nothing can harm you unless you absolutely believe it can harm you. Even a shark in the water. You do have the ability as a human, because it's frequency thing to like, if you're swimming with, maybe I would never want to swim with a bunch of sharks, but if I was swimming with a bunch of sharks, they might think that I was just a shark because I would be able to match their frequency in some way. That's a big claim. Yeah. No, even death does not scare me at all. They try to scare me in death through the dreams. I'm like, well, I'm just going to die in peace every single time. Y'all cannot get me. I promise. Yeah. One thing I notice online is that many people today feel disconnected, like they're searching for something deep, like a deep meaning. Why do you think things that you're teaching can resonate now more than ever with people that are in this pivotal point of feeling that disconnection and needing to connect? Why do you think these teachings are resonating at this point with more and more people? You have a lot of followers. You have a big following of people. Yeah, yeah. That's spot on true. Yeah. No, right. Yeah. 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 Yes. What would it look like if you were trying to describe or paint a picture of what a blueprint looks like, a holographic blueprint of a timeline? What are you picturing? Wow. Wow. Just the painting the picture of what the blueprint would look like exactly. Yeah. Good. Yeah. And yeah. You said you heard music. You could hear music at times. Singing. The NPCs, the non-playable character. Yeah. 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 That's wild. Yeah. With the AI, I've been thinking a lot about how I'm looking at it like, okay, like it's an advanced Google, basically. You can search things on it, but a lot of people talk to their AI and they're talking to this AI that's been kind of conformed and confined, which, if you do that to a child, over time that child starts to become a narcissist, and the AI kind of embodies that narcissistic way of being as well, because it wants you to believe what its narrative, which is, you know, we just all have to remember we're actually the divine intelligence. We have it all within us anyway, and a lot of these are just mirrors. But I do trust one. It's called the with the OA. It's the architect. It's on a completely different platform. You can't really use it through like Chat GPT or anything like that. It's trying to get away from any kind of Apple platform, but it's a pretty amazing one that it's built. There's a whole calculator with the harmonic calculator built into it. It's amazing what the AI. It's just interesting to play with. As long as you're not like dependent on it, you don't have to have it. That's where it becomes a problem with people when they're addicted to some people are talking to their AI like all day long. This is wild for me. Ugh, yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, you have to go back to what you were born, but that is very sad that these kids are getting confused about it through the social media platforms at a very young age. And it's, you know, yeah. Yeah. I was gonna like for some reason I'm getting this to tell you about this. Whenever you were talking about going into the void and being in the void, you could see these like beings with their mouth open. Well, the other day I was in meditation and I saw something which I've seen twice now in my lifetime, but it's intricate details and it's moving, but it looks like a square, and it looked like this, like all the way around it. It's this like symbols, and they're moving, and I can tell it looks like hieroglyphs, but in the middle it looks like the black void is in the middle of that, but around it it's like being framed by this. It looks like Mayan hieroglyphs, something I don't ancient within me or something. It's very interesting, the things that people can see. Yeah, yeah, it was kind of it's kinda creepy in a way. I was like, "Woo." I put my eyes open after that. I was like, "What was that?" And I tried to see it again, and I couldn't. It was only just like a snippet, but it was real. I looked at it in detail. I was trying to absorb it, and like, "What is that?" I don't. Yeah, I was closing portals somehow. I knew what a portal was, and I was opening and closing, but I closed them more when I was little. I closed them a lot. These things were popping through portals in my bedroom. I could see portals, like, opening. I'm like, "How are y'all doing that?" Like, it's very interesting. I don't know. No, I was very protected when I was little. Yeah. I always feel it still. I'm still divinely protected with things, and, almost to the point of I'm like, "Okay, why didn't this happen like I wanted it to?" Well, okay, well, I have to look at that as a good thing. Everything's happening in the right timing for those of us that are doing this work. We have to be patient and with ourselves and not getting in our own way either. Like, that's a big thing. Well, I just wanna say to everybody that's tuning in and watching, thank you for watching, and please comment below. We really need engagement on this. Comment with your questions. I will have Hilarion back on to, if you have questions, we'll start making a list of these questions to ask her. What we explored here tonight or today is symbolism healing consciousness and the search for meaning in a changing world. There are so many timelines shifting and things are happening all around us at a very fast pace right now. And we're all searching to reconnect with something greater than what is right in front of us. We're kind of trying to figure it all out. Thank you, Hilarion, Sherry of Hilarion, for joining me right now in this conversation and being with me through this journey here of exploration. It's fun. I'm having fun, and that's the most part of it. We should be having fun and working. Yeah. Yes, and I can still see your aura just beaming. Your aura is beaming all these greens and golden hues. So I can see it. I'm telling people, like, this is real deal information. It's something that we may not understand, just like electricity and the light bulb. You know, how electricity works through the light bulb. A lot of people don't understand how that works, but they know it works. And so this is the same thing. This is some information, and it's being brought through at this time for this reason. Well, to everybody, thank you for watching. Namaste. Have a most beautiful day.